Good morning, students. Welcome to the part 1 video of science class on chapter number 4, materials, metals and non-metals. Different types of materials, isn't it? Iron, aluminium, copper, sulfur, wood, plastic. Out of these list of items, can you name the materials which are metals as well as the materials that are non-metals? Yes, iron, aluminium, copper are some of the metals. Plastic, wood, sulfur are non-metals. How did you classify them into metals as well as non-metals? Metals can be distinguished from non-metals on the basis of their physical as well as chemical properties. Now let's see the physical properties of metals as well as non-metals. You know that the shape of iron nail and the aluminium wire change on beating. If they are beaten so harder, they could be changed into sheets. You might be also familiar with the silver foil used for wrapping the seeds. Not only that, you might be also familiar with aluminium foil used for wrapping of food. Which property of metal is used here? Its malleability. So what do you mean by malleability? The property of metals by which they can be beaten into thin sheet is called malleability. Is a characteristic property of metals. Another best example of metal that have the property of malleability is gold. Gold can be beaten into different shapes to make ornaments. Does materials like coal and pencil lead can be beaten into sheets? No. So the property of malleability is not applicable to non-metal. The next property is conductivity. Can you hold a hot metallic pan without a plastic or wooden handle? No. Why? Now think about the experiences in which a wooden or plastic handle protect you from being hurt while handling hot things. On the basis of these experiences, what can you say about the conduction of heat by wood and plastic? You must have seen an electrician using the screwdriver. What kind of handle does it have? Why? Let us find out. You know how to make an electric circuit to test whether electricity can pass through an object or not. You might have performed the activity with various objects. Now, we can take different materials and perform this activity and classify materials into good conductors as well as poor conductors. The materials chosen were iron rod, nail, copper wire, and they are good conductors. That is, they allow heat as well as electricity to pass through them. But rolled sulfur peas, coal peas are poor conductors. Why they are known as poor conductors? Because they do not allow the heat or electricity to pass through them. That's why a screwdriver handle is made up of plastic, as well as we use a plastic or wooden to take a hot metallic pan. Property is ductility. Have you seen aluminium wire as well as copper wire? Which property is used here? Yes, the property of ductility is used here. Aluminium wire as well as copper wire can be used for power distribution, power transmission, as well as telecommunication. The property by which metal can be drawn into thin wire is called ductility. Have you ever noticed wires made up of coal? Definitely not, because they do not have the property of ductility. Now let's see the next physical property, that is sonorousness. Try to drop a piece of iron sheet as well as a piece of coal on the floor. Do you notice any difference in the sound produced? Yes, you might have. More sound will be produced from the iron sheet, but no sound will be produced from the piece of coal, isn't it? The things made up of metals produce a ringing sound when struck hard. Since metals produce ringing sounds, they are said to be sonorous. Have you seen wooden bells in temples? If no, can you give reason? Suppose you have two boxes similar in appearance, one made up of wood and other of metal. Can you tell which box is made up of metal by striking both the boxes? The bells in the temples are not made up of wood, as it does not produce sound, but they are made up of metals as they produce sound when struck. Not only that, the two boxes which we took earlier, the one made up of wood and other of the metal. The one made up of metal produces sound, isn't it? The materials other than metals are not sonorous. That is, they do not produce sound. After performing the above activities, we can say that some materials are hard, lustrous, malleable, ductile, sonorous, and good conductors of heat and electricity. The materials which possess above properties are called metals. Some examples of metals are iron, copper, aluminium, calcium, magnesium. Materials like coal and sulfur are soft and dull in appearance. They break down into powder on tapping with hammer. They are not sonorous and are poor conductors of heat and electricity. These materials are called nonmetals. Examples of nonmetals are sulfur, carbon, oxygen, phosphorus, etc. In metals, there are still exceptions. Metals like sodium and potassium and are soft. They can be cut with a knife. Mercury is the only metal which is found in liquid state at room temperature.